watching or listening to us. This is the Awesemo Nhl Dfs strategy show, and I am your host, Michael Clifford, aka Slim Cliffy. Joining me in a 2v2 brawl against Tom Wilson and Anthony Mantha for Artemi Panarin's honor is our resident Rangers Rager, Mr. Joshua Harris. Josh, how you doing today, bud?
Doing better than the Rangers right now. That's for sure. They're a mess. Got lots of things on that, but I don't know if we want to get into it. But yeah, it's the regular season's winding down. Got another, I can't even speak. I'm so angry. Moderate sized slate. It's a pretty interesting one. There's not many road teams I like tonight, so hopefully we can find some spots for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we do have to talk about last night's slate. I mean, in general, right? I mean, that's what we do here. We talk about slate reviews. We obviously can't start without talking about the Washington Rangers game. And all the fights aside, like, I kind of felt for TJ Oshie in that game because, like, if those fights don't happen, that's probably the most memorable game of the year just for what TJ Oshie did. And for those that don't know, TJ Oshie's father passed earlier this week or maybe last weekend, went to the funeral, I believe it was on Tuesday or something like that, played Wednesday, scored a hat trick. You can see he was very emotional on the bench. His teammates were very emotional for him as well. It was one of those moments that you really love for sports. Like someone said, it reminded them of the Brett Favre Monday night game, like almost 20 years ago now, right after his father died. Like it was just an incredibly powerful moment. Unfortunately, the game started with a line brawl off the face-off and 6 fights within the first like 3 or 4 minutes. So it kind of overshadowed what was probably one of the most meaningful games of the season, at least for TJ Oshie.
Yeah, like Tom Wilson and the Caps aside, it's very easy to root for TJ Oshie, especially if you're American in that shootout. You know, he straight up just like won that game for him. But yeah, that was a great moment for TJ Oshie, not taking anything away. Like, you know, the beginning of that game was a mess. The best fight actually was Strome versus Eller. that was the best fight. They were the two more emotional guys after the Wilson. Like Strome had a pretty powerful interview after the Wilson incident, and Eller stood up for his teammates and stuff. So that was good. But like, I don't know, the NHL doing that. Like, I think that's why they didn't suspend Tom Wilson, because the NHL wants more eyes on the game. So these 200 hockey men, they love this crap, and nothing's going to change. Fighting in hockey is fine. You want a physical game, fine, but like people just brawling. There was 100 penalty minutes in the first period, like,
and that doesn't even go to Pavel Buchnevich. Yeah. We're gonna have to talk about him in a second. Cross-checking Anthony Mantha in the face after Mantha had been going after him the whole shift. It seemed like looking for a fight after Buchnevich slashed him or something like that. Like, I'm with you. I don't mind fighting in hockey. Like, if two guys want to go at it, go at it. Like, I'm more than fine with that. But like last night was a circus, and it was going to happen. Whether it was that game or a game next season, it was going to happen eventually, and that's what happens when you don't punish the players. But there were other games on the schedule last night. San Jose came through in a big way. They beat Colorado. Thomas Hertl and Evander Kane both had 3-point nights. Even Erik Karlsson scored a goal. I almost had to rub my eyes. I couldn't believe it. They had a real nice night. Erik Brannstrom, probably one of the best value defensemen on the board last night. He had a 3-point night. He did well. Anton Forsberg. Ottawa in general, I think they've won like 8 out of their last 12 games or something like that, which might speak more to the quality of the teams in Canada more than the quality of the Ottawa Senators. But they look to be one of the few teams that are legitimately out of the playoffs, but still playing the season out.
Yeah, and my son Artie Zub had a big game. He almost had 20 DK points from in Price. You'll love to see it. Stuff we love to see, Vots. And I see Joe Pesci in chat saying we better get an impression tonight. You talking to me, huh? You talking to me? That's not Pesci, but you talking to me? We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's De Niro. But yeah. Anyway, it's the last show of the season, of the regular season, that you and I are going to be doing together. So I don't think it really matters if you do the wrong impression at this point in time. But we're not going to be talking about impressions. I just want to talk to you real quick about the season in general. There are only 6 games tonight, so let's take a couple minutes here. It like the season has flown by, but when you look back, you almost forget stuff that happened, right? Like this season started out for the New York Rangers with a defense pair of Jack Johnson and Tony DeAngelo playing together, right? Like we were excited about that because it was possibly the worst defense pair ever assembled in the history of the NHL. Something like that really caught my mind. Kirill Kaprizov's hat trick, like a couple months ago, a third period hat trick, including a goal in the final 45 seconds with the goalie in the net. He just went for it and got a hat trick. I remember that one because it was a good night for myself. More recently, Michael Hauser. We're going to have to talk about him later as well. Michael Hauser, not having played having one game in the AHL in the last 3 years, like 2 in the last 5 or something like that, playing all in the ECHL. Comes in and wins his first 2 games at home, both against the Islanders, I think, and one of them was a 45 save performance. It was just like, along with TJ Oshie, it's just one of those stories that reminds you of why sports are really awesome. So what are some things that you remember over the course of the last 4 months?
Yeah, one that sticks out because I love to see Leafs fans squirm is when the Leafs lost to the Canucks after their big COVID outbreak. Man, memories. I almost had to get a tattoo of Noel Acai Berry if he got a hat trick. He ended up having like a block shot at a Jock. Someone had a 4-goal night. That was just ridiculous. I forget who it was. Kind of broke the slate.
I mean, I remember Nola Chari's hat trick.
Yeah.
Like that one came out of nowhere. I remember that.
Yeah, and then Gustav Forsling had like a random like massive game. Oh no, it was Ekblad who had like a 50-point night.
Oh, and then there was the Uyghur and the utility night.
Yeah.
There was that. That was a good one from, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago.
And then the Rangers beating the Flyers like 9-0 3 straight games. And
let's talk about that. The Rangers coaching staff goes under quarantine or whatever. They miss like 4 games and the Rangers score like, I don't know, they scored what, like 5 goals a game while the coaching staff was out in the very first game. And that game, if I'm not mistaken, Alain Vigneault scratched Shane Gostisbehere after Gostisbehere had scored in back-to-back games, and they got blown out 9-0.
Yeah, and I see people in chat chiming in. Mike Bunting had a hat trick, didn't he?
Oh yeah, the Barkov scratch after lock. That was or it wasn't after lock. I remember that one because I global swapped to Alex Wenberg. Yeah. I had like 35% Alex Wenberg on a 9-game slate or something because Barkov was scratched literally like 90 seconds before lock. Some people in our chat were able to swap him out. Most people weren't. Alex Wenberg, 35% night Alex Wenberg. That wasn't a bad one. Anything else that comes to mind for you?
Man, the season seems like it went by so fast and it also seems so long and so repetitive. It's hard to like really focus on like one game just because like these teams are playing like every night against each other. So it's like everything blends together. And it's just kind of hard to focus on a moment.
I think one of my favorite moments, like I'm a Habs fan, I'm wearing my Habs jersey here. I think one of my favorite Habs moments of the year was Montreal's first trip to Vancouver back in January. Tyler Toffoli's first game back with the Canucks, he scores a hat trick, and then the next game he goes out and he puts up 2 goals and an assist. He put up 6 points in 3 games against the Canucks after they wouldn't sign him for $4.25 million a season because they were pushed right up against the cap with all their bad contracts.
The Canadians Twitter feed just trolling Vancouver tonight, putting a promoted tweet at Toffoli's stats.
Yeah, if anybody didn't see that, the Montreal Canadiens promoted a tweet in the Vancouver area today with Tyler Toffoli's goal highlights from the season. It was just a perfect troll. And to finish it off, yeah, we got to bring it up. Saul just mentioned it in YouTube chat. Jake's mom's clock. The MVP of the season for me, I think, is Jake's clock. RIP to the clock. You were a real one. Hopefully we see you again next year. All right. I think that's enough reminiscing on the season. We do have some games we got to talk about. Before we get to those games, if you guys could, while you're out there, throw us a like and a subscribe. Subscribe especially. It really helps us grow the channel here. I see our subscriptions are pretty much climbing every day, which is awesome. You guys are really helping us out. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. It helps these shows coming. I know NHL is winding down, but MLB's in full swing. We have NBA playoffs, MMA, PGA. Keeps these shows coming, keeps us at the top of the algorithm. And if you guys can't catch these YouTube shows, most of our shows, except for the Live Before Locks, most of our shows are available in podcast form on your favorite platform. Just head to awesemo.com/podcast to see what we've got going on over there. Just leave a 5-star review with your Twitter handle or your email address, and you'll be eligible to win a free week of Awesemo Plus Platinum, and that can go up for up to a year. So you can win this summer, next spring, next winter, whenever. So head to awesemo.com/podcast if you want to check out our video YouTube shows in podcast form. And as well, we have free stuff up on the site almost every day, today being no exception. We have free premium tools and data up on the site. We have MLB ownership up on the site. We have NHL and NBA main slate ownership on the site. And we also have MMA fighter projections. I noticed you were talking about UFC in the chat earlier. Is there a big fight this weekend?
This weekend, no. It's the main event got lost due to injury, so there's a backup main event. But next week is a pay-per-view with a title fight. That's going to be really good.
There we go. So MMA fighter projections are available for this weekend right now. I'm sure we usually have some MMA stuff when there's a big fight for free premium tools and data. So be sure to check back on the site at some point next week.
Still 100K to first for UFC this weekend. So
like even the smaller ones still have big prizes. So yeah, definitely worth throwing in a few shekels if you feel like it. Head on over to awesemo.com, see what we have going on for free.
You're going to have on Saturday, they're going to have the risk-free UFC. So get the tools, man.
Yeah, there you go. Risk-free UFC. You got free tools. It's free on top of free to win money. It doesn't really get much better than that. So yeah, head on over to awesemo.com. Check out our free premium MMA fighter projections for your free contest this weekend. But we're not here to talk about just MMA. We're here to talk about some NHL. So let's dig into these games we have going on tonight. New York Rangers, 2.1 implied goal total going into Boston. The Bruins have a 3.4 implied goal total. My thoughts on this game are as follows. No Artemi Panarin, no Chris Kreider, no Pavel Buchnevich because they said he's done for the year. No Jacob Trouba, no Ryan Lindgren. That's three out of your 4 top 6 wingers, 1 defenseman off your top pair, and probably your most reliable defenseman on the penalty kill, all out of the lineup. You're playing a back-to-back. You just had your most emotional game of the season by far. I know people I don't like to talk about letdown spots or pick me up spots or anything like that. And I know you're a Rangers fan. I just have a real hard time seeing how this isn't a big time letdown spot for the Rangers. What do you think about this game?
Oh yeah, the Rangers are going to get run over tonight. Like last night was their season. I mean, the one saving grace is they have a lot of kids in the lineup, so maybe they have stuff to prove. But like, this isn't a good matchup anyway. So really, like on the Rangers side, like we don't know what the lines are going to be. I see in the lineup builder it's Strome, Zibanejad, Buchnevich. So like, it hasn't been updated yet. So like, they said Buchnevich is out for the season. It could be suspension, could be injury related. We don't know. So like, the Rangers lines are just going to be an absolute mess. So like really, like if I was going to play on one of the Rangers, I'd take a couple pieces from the blue line because they have a couple cheap guys that we'll get to in a minute. But like skaters, I'm probably off them completely. Like I don't want 7,100 Zibanejad and a miserable total going against Bergeron. Yeah, Boston doesn't have anything to play for, and Bergeron line isn't playing 22 minutes a night anymore. They're 16, 17, 18 now that they have where they're going to be locked up. So, but even so, like that Taylor Hall trade really, stabilized their depth. And so like, I'm probably going to be off the Rangers completely. at least from a skater standpoint. Like I was saying before that maybe 2,800 Philip Hedl had some interest for me just because of like price related, and he's going to see a bump in minutes. But like, it's a terrible matchup. If he's still 2,800 against like the Sabres next week or in a couple days, yeah, then maybe I'll pull the trigger. But I'm off the Rangers tonight. And then on the Boston side, like the problem with Boston one is they're still priced like they're getting 20, 21, 22 minutes a night, and they're just not. Yeah, like this Rangers team is a shell of itself, and they could get there easily in their 16, 17, 18 minutes, fully correlated on the power play. So I think it's fine in MME. 1 to 3 lineups, I think you got to look maybe elsewhere. There'd be a secondary option probably for me in 1 to 3. So, with all the injuries, like the Rangers depth is just brutal. So like you can look to that second line. You can even look to that third line. Yeah, Jake DeBrusk has had a terrible season, but like he's super cheap on the second power play. Nick Ritchie's under 4,000 now, 3,600 on the top power play. Sean Corrali, 2,600. Like it doesn't have much power play correlation, but it's a nice filler if you want to get, more expensive stuff in like the Oilers or the Maple Leafs, something like that. So I think, Boston 2 and 3 is where I'd concentrate on this game.
Yeah, just want to mention Boston 3. Charlie Coyle looks like he's going to be out tonight. So new Boston 3s, Corrali, DeBrusk, Ritchie. I agree with you. Boston 3 has kind of looked shaky at times, but this is a great matchup for them. I suspect that the Rangers lines are going to be Strome, Zibanejad, Kakko. That's what they finished with, last night. And then Lafreniere, Hedl, Blackwell. There's just nothing there. Like I said, I think this is just a big emotional letdown for them here tonight. I can't see them coming out with their, one of the best games of the season after a night like last night. And Boston has just flat out looked like one of the best teams in hockey since the deadline. Like Taylor Hall completely turned the fortunes of that team around. So anything you want to do with Boston is fine with me, but I agree with you. I don't really want to play Boston 1 here tonight. They're just not getting ice time. I was looking at their ice time earlier today. Brad Marchand is the only one playing over 17 minutes a game amongst their forwards. Like Patrice Bergeron is playing like 1650. David Pasternak's playing like 1645, and they can do it in 16 or 17 minutes. I just don't want to pay 24K or whatever it is to see if they can do it in 16 or 17 minutes. I'd rather pay way down with Boston 2 and see if they can do it in their 15 or 16 minutes of ice time. Boston 2 has just been absolutely lights out this year. I talked about Craig Smith in my Power Plays article this morning. I write about some DFS options at Awesemo.com. They're free on the site every Thursday. I wrote about Craig Smith today. 3.0 expected goals per 60 minutes, 64.7% expected goal share, nearly 5 goals per 60 minutes as a line. Boston 2 is definitely my target in this game. On the blue line, Boston's also kind of starting to spread it out amongst their blue liners. Like McAvoy's down to, 23 minutes a game. Mike Riley's in the 20 to 21 range. The rest of the guys are like 18 to 20. So Boston's really starting to spread it around on their blue line. I suspect Keandre Miller and Adam Fox are going to have to play a ton of minutes tonight for the Rangers. You mentioned blue liners at the top. What do you like for defensemen in this game?
So on the Boston side, if Riley's going to get 19, 20, 21 minutes at 3,200, even though he's not on the power play, I think is perfectly fine. Again, Grzelcyk 5,100, like no. I mean, like if you're going to power play stack, fine, but I'm not really interested in him as a one-off. McAvoy 5,300. I think there's better options elsewhere. On the Rangers side, Keandre Miller 2,600. He's going to get a ton of minutes. He had 4 block shots last game. That was like his first block bonus in a long time. But at 2,600 on the top pair of Fox, I think, he's a good punt. And also Zach Jones, min price, power play 2. He's going to see a bump in minutes. He played 18 minutes last night. He had a pretty good game. I think, they're both viable at their price. But other than that, Fox is down under 6,000, but like he's not a shot volume guy. He's more of the assists on the goal. And I don't know how many goals the Rangers are going to be scoring tonight. It's probably going to be very few, if any. So I'm off Fox tonight.
Yeah, I'm also off Fox. I don't like Keandre Miller and Zach Jones. I think would be the guys. I think you're right. On the Rangers side, you definitely want to go cheap here. In goal, I'm not like Jeremy Swayman 8,100. It's fine. Like I think there's definite shutout potential here tonight. I think Igor Shesterkin is a lot more interesting because Georgiev started last night. It should be Shesterkin tonight. I wrote this morning at Dobber Hockey about Shesterkin's last 2 years. Like, he's been the best goalie in hockey. It's either him or Vasilevsky.
Yeah.
And if the Rangers are as bad as we think they're going to be tonight, then Shesterkin should see a lot of shots.
Yeah, I mean, like, you go back a couple seasons for the reasons you play Hank. This is the reason why you play Shesterkin tonight. Like, the Rangers called up a bunch of guys, so there could be even more injuries. Their depth could be even more bad than it already is. So, like, Shesterkin's going to see 45 shots tonight. Like, it's just going to be whether he stops most of them. And, he's been playing lights out all season, besides when he got hurt. But, like, at 7,600, it's kind of in the price range where, you don't necessarily need him to win if he gets the shot bonus, the save bonus, and he lets in like 2 or 3. A win would be gravy with him. So I think you definitely can consider him.
Yep. Definitely. He's definitely under consideration for me, at least. Not saying you have to play him, but he's definitely one of my favorites here tonight. All right, let's move it along to the next one. New Jersey Devils, they also have a 2.1 implied goal total. The New York Islanders, they also have a 3.4 implied goal total. The Islanders changed up their lines. Matt Barzal is back in the lineup after being a healthy scratch last game. He's going to be on the top line with Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac. The second line stays together. Ross Johnston comes in on the third line with JGP and Oliver Wahlstrom. I usually like playing the Islanders' third line. They've been good to me this year. I can't see myself going that deep with Ross Johnston on that line. Maybe you see something different there. And what do you see on the Devil side?
Yeah, so first thing you notice is the Islanders' ownership. That first line is around 20%. That second line is over 20%. I kind of get it on the second line. They've been very good all season. But this iteration of the top line, Zajac, Barzal, Palmieri, like, I don't know if I want a 20% line with those guys on there. Like, yeah, Zajac's under 3,000 on power play 1, but like, it's Travis Zajac. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a knock on him, but he's just like, I don't want to play a 20% Travis Zajac. And if it seems like the Islanders are rotating guys out to get them some rest before the playoffs. So like with Eberle not on that top line, and you see the Devils' ownership, like, it kind of puts me onto the Devils a little bit here. You would think the Nelson line is going to get the Hughes line because they've been sending out the Nelson against top comp at home. So, like, that's going to free the Zacha, Hischier, Bratt line against the Barzal, Palmieri, Zajac line. And, you look at their ownership, they're under 2%. It's a 6-game slate. So, like, they're far correlated on the power play. I think this is a great spot for them at their ownership. If they're like 10%, yeah, I'd probably be a bit weary. But like, the Islanders are good defensively, but they have guys rotating in and out. We've never seen Zajac, Barzal, and Palmieri together, so this is the first time they're together, like, all season. I think there's some merit going to this Hischier line tonight, assuming the Nelson line gets Hughes, if they treat them like top comp. If you think the Nelson line is going to get the Hischier line, then I want to play the Hughes line. It's just a matter of how you think the line matching is going to go. But I think there's some merit, especially at the ownership. Yeah, the total's super low. The Islanders are good defensively, blah, blah, blah. They don't take many penalties, but they're resting guys. And how many times can you get a fully correlated line on the power play under 2% on the 6-game slate? I think you got to go there.
Yeah, I'm really glad you talked about the Devils here because the Devils, like, there are a lot of lopsided matchups tonight. So you're either going to go with all favorites or you have to start going against the grain a little bit. And I think the Devils are the spot to do it here tonight. New York Islanders, since the trade deadline, 21st in the league by expected goals against. The only reason that their goals against are held in check is goaltending. My philosophy here is if the only thing that's keeping goal scoring in check is goaltending, I will go against any goaltender having a bad night on any given night. So Islanders 21st by expected goals against since the deadline. They have a good penalty kill. But New Jersey, like, we talk about the Hughes line, that, like, they've been good. They've been really good. The Hischier line has been fine. Like, I don't think there's just not a lot that I'm really concerned about from the Islanders side. Like, I think the one thing that would hold me back from going onto the Hischier line is the Islanders' penalty kill, because that's the one thing that has stayed very good all year is their penalty kill. Their defense, their team defense at even strength has gone up and down. On the penalty kill, they've stayed consistently good. So I think this might be a night where I go to the Hughes line over the Hischier line, even though they don't have that power play correlation, because I don't think power play correlation is as important in this matchup as it might be in other matchups where you have weaker penalty kills like Edmonton or something like that, right? So I think just going even strength with the Devils is fine. I really like the way Sharon Govich, Kuokkanen, and Hughes have been playing. Their expected goal share has been extremely good all year, driving goals. They finished. They need more finish, but they can score, so that's enough for me, especially at a reasonable price where you can fit them in with your more expensive, Pittsburghs or Torontos or what have you. So really like that Hughes line here tonight. Like with the Islanders, like Jordan Eberle's play driving this year offensively is 2 standard deviations above league average, like elite. Kyle Palmieri's is below average. Like he's just not been good this year. And then you had Zajac on the other side, who's maybe a third liner. Like that's just not a good line. The second line is fine. The second line is good. I have no problem using the second line, except that their ownership is just out of control. We have them at 21%. They're the most poorly leveraged line on the night, and I think minus 16% leverage is the highest I've seen on any slate this year. So I'm out on Islanders 2. And then Islanders 3, you have Ross Johnston there for some reason. So, like, you either play a bad Barzal line, you play a way over-owned second line, or you play a line with a pugilist in Ross Johnston on the third line. So, like, there's just not a lot I really want to play from the Islanders here. So this is going to be the game where I have nothing from the home team or very little, and I attack the road team for my DFS lineups. On the blue line, one guy I mentioned in my Power Plays article this morning is Will Butcher. He has taken over the top power play role with Ty Smith out with his injury. Now, the problem with Butcher is I think he's too expensive on DK. He's at 3,800. He's not a big peripherals guy, so he really needs points. And relying on any defenseman to get points against the Islanders is a little bit tough. But over on FanDuel, he's min price. So if you're playing on FanDuel, don't mind Will Butcher at min price. What else do you have in this game for defensemen?
Yeah, Butcher if you're using Jersey too, if you want to correlate. But I think if you're using the Hughes line, I think Severson makes some sense at 3,400. He's the peripheral guy there. I mean, he's been up and down this season, but he had a pretty good game last game. I think you can go back to him. On the Islanders side, Dobson's still on power play 1 at 2,800. His minutes are around 16, 17 minutes. And I think you can go there if you want. It just like I see Leddy being popular and he's projected well in the Awesemo projections. It's tough to click in Nick Leddy, but if you want to do it, go ahead. Pulak at 4,200, perfectly fine. Also Pelech, his minutes have been crazy lately, like 23, 24 a night. He hasn't been doing much with it, but at 2,900, I think you can take the chance at a block bonus.
Yeah, if you believe in the Islanders tonight, Pelech makes sense at his price. Like if they get in some scoring, he might be able to get in some of that scoring with his 23 minutes. In goal, I'm not playing Varlamov. Blackwood, if he plays, is interesting to me at 7,200. Do you have interest in him?
Yeah, especially seeing the Islanders ownership. I know like playing a goalie against the chalk is not how you leverage the field, but like he's going to be super low owned at the price, and he has the potential to have a good game. Shot volume is always a concern with the Islanders. Sometimes they just go into banana land and Trotz land really, but like Blackwood at his price, I think this is a winnable game.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially if you want to correlate your lineups. Today's show is brought to you by Jock Market. If you haven't heard, Jock Market has turned fantasy sports into a stock exchange. Forget waiting until the end of the game to make money. Jock Market allows you to buy and sell shares of players in real time for real money with guaranteed payouts for all shares at the end of each night. With daily markets for NBA, MLB, NHL, and PGA, you can make real money every hour, every minute, every second of any match or game. Use a pregame IPO to pick up shares of your favorite players and buy, sell, or hold them during the game based on your own analysis. Download the app to get started and use our exclusive Awesemo promo code Awesemo NHL20 for a $20 bonus on your first deposit. This is an exclusive offer only for the Awesemo community, so make sure to take advantage of it today. That's Awesemo NHL20 for a $20 bonus at our show sponsor, Jock Market. Thank you very much, Jock Market. I haven't heard from White Claws. I'm kind of disappointed with that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to reach back out.
Yeah,
PowerPoint.
Yeah, we're gonna maybe we'll bring him back for the playoff shows. We'll bring some White Claws on. I know Jake won't mind having some.
You have to send them a video of me, drinking some claws out of my Game of Thrones chalice.
Yeah, there we go. After you bank a big playoff tournament or something like that. Yeah, let's do that. All right, let's move it along here. Buffalo 2.2 implied goal total. They're going into Pittsburgh. Penguins have a 3.8 implied goal total. It looks like it's going to be Michael Hauser in net again for the Sabres. They're saying Ullmark might be able to go this weekend, but it's going to be Hauser for now. Pittsburgh did something interesting last game. They sat Brian Rust a fair bit. I don't know what was going on. If somebody in chat saw something that was going on, let us know. But Brian Rust took about 10 minutes off, and Jeff Carter jumped to the top line for Pittsburgh for about half a period. He took like 3 shifts with Crosby and Gensel. I found that very interesting. Not sure what you like on the Buffalo side here. I think there's a lot to like on the Pittsburgh side, obviously up and down the lineup. What do you like?
I initially thought this game was in Buffalo. I was like, yes, I can use Anders Bjork. But no, they're going against Crosby. So I'll save Bjork for another day. That takes me completely off the, Reinhart, Olofsson, Bjork line. Wanted to get as much Bjork in as I could. But, man, it's just tough using the Sabres. I'm not a big believer in Yari. And you see that, his ownership is high again. He's chalked every game for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe Casey Middlestat, Tage Thompson, but because the Malkin line hasn't been very good defensively, since he came back in the 2 games. But hold on. But just the Buffalo Sabres, it's just not for me tonight. I just can't do it. I can't click them in. I just can't do it. I can't force myself to be Tage Thompson. It's like liar, liar when Jim Carrey's in the courtroom. He's like, the pen's blue. That's what kind of
coloring all over his face. Yeah.
Kind of like how I feel with the Sabres tonight. So I'm going to be out on the Sabres tonight. On the Penguins side, yeah, the top line makes some sense. That Russ thing was a bit interesting. I see in chat, Mr. Goodman said Russ got hurt and came back. So, maybe they limit his minutes a little bit, but, they're way cheaper than Boston won. They still have some stuff to play for. I think they want to avoid the Bruins in the first round. So, they're going to get their minutes. This is a good matchup. If you want to avoid the chalk, I don't know, 6,100 Malkin is a bit tough. I don't mind Jason Zucker at 3,300, but Malkin's just a bit tough. I think I'm going to be underweight on this game and just pray to Lord baby Jesus that it stays in check, because I'm just not really interested in this game.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Malkin in his line, because it's only been a couple games since they've been back. But since he's come back, 3.1 expected goals for per 60, 3.7 expected goals against. They're getting caved in. On the season, because, Malkin, Kapanen, and Zucker was a thing earlier in the year. On the season, 1.9 expected goals for per 60, 2.5 expected goals against, per 60. This is just not a good line. So, I get if you want to play them because it's Buffalo. I wrote in my power plays article, because I wrote up Jake Gensel for my power plays article this morning, and I wrote about how bad Buffalo is. Olofsson Reinhart on the ice, 42.4 expected goal share. With the middle stat line on the ice, it's 38.2% expected goal share. And those are their top 2 lines. There's just nothing here to be worried about. It's just, that Malkin line just hasn't been good in retrospect. Maybe they have enough skill just to straight out skill them. That's very possible. But I think I'd probably rather, if I'm going to the depth, if I'm not playing Pit 1, I'd probably rather go back to the Carter line. Carter McCann, Frederick Gaudreau is a good hockey player. If you look at his impacts this year, positive impacts across the board, both offensively and defensively. And we know how good Carter and McCann have been together since Carter came over at the trade deadline. So McCann, Gaudreau, Carter, I don't hate it as a secondary stack. It's just you're not getting those prime power play minutes, and that's something that you really want, especially up against the Buffalo Sabres. So I would probably still with value, all else being equal, I would still go with Pitt 1, even with the price disparity. But I have no problem going to that Carter, Gaudreau, McCann line as a trio if you want to. They even got some power play time last game. I think it was kind of by mistake, but they still got some power play time last game. So, yeah, don't mind them. One thing about Brian Rust, they brought it up in chat. You said he got slew-footed last night, was injured. That's why his minutes are down. But that's 3 games in a row for Rust playing under 20 minutes, which is very unusual for Brian Rust. So maybe there's something more to him not playing as much. So maybe you can leave him off the top stack. It's up to you guys. Nothing for me from Buffalo, so I'll just skip that altogether. On the blue line, John Marino, power play 2, playing 21 minutes has some interest to me. Obviously, Chris Letang, if you're correlating. What about you?
Yeah, Marino makes some sense. Letang, obviously, using Pitt 1, I wouldn't want off him. That's really bad. I mean, if you want to maybe CC, you can, but he's a little too expensive for my taste. Buffalo side, the Rasmai. I might take a stab on Ristolainen just because he's 3,600. Dahlin at 4,500 doesn't really interest me. That's really about it.
Yep, I have no problem with that. In goal, I don't know what you want to do about goalies in this game. It seems to me that, I wrote up Michael Hauser this morning. I have no problem playing Hauser 7K. Not playing Jarry at his price. I guess it's what you do with Hauser. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting because at 6,500, I'd be interested. 7,000, it's kind of getting into that range where you're like, this magic carpet ride's about to end, and it kind of feels bad, chasing the points with him. It kind of feels like a few PGA seasons ago, Jason Kokrak. He's just not a great golfer, and he just kept playing good, and his ownership kept going up. And finally, when you jump on the train, he just blew up. So it kind of feels bad getting on the Hauser bandwagon now. So I think I'm just going to fade and hope this game's a low shot affair, 3-2 game. And Yari at 8,400 doesn't interest me.
Yeah, out on him as well. Okay, let's move it along. Chicago, 2.2 implied goal total going into Carolina. Carolina has a 3.9 implied goal total. Chicago lost Kirby Dach. They shut him down for the rest of the year. There was some sort of irritation going on with the scar from his broken wrist, so they just shut him down for the year. So Dach is going to be out tonight. I mean, heavens knows what what the Chicago Blackhawks lineup is going to be. So at least we know Dach is out. It doesn't look like Carolina is going to have any changes. This is the 3rd game in a row between these two teams. Carolina's outscored them 11-5 in the 2 games, including comeback last game. I think they were down 2-0, came back and won 6-3. Doesn't look like there's going to be any changes for Carolina. So what do you like here?
This is interesting. Last game, Carolina 1 had wild ownership. Where's Vots to clip that? It's wild. Just wild. Yeah, wild. Oh, riled up the dogs. But yeah, you see you see their ownership around, the top line around 12-13%, and that's half of Pitt 1. Maybe Carolina 1 comes up a little bit, Pitt 1 goes down, but if Carolina 1's going to be lower than Pittsburgh, I want to play Carolina 1. That line has been very good. I think this is might even say it, a Josh stack opportunity on a 6-game slate. One thing I did notice when the Hurricanes went on a 5-on-3 against the Blackhawks, it was Teravainen on the power play over Stahl. I don't know if that's going to be a permanent thing or all of his power play minutes, Stahl was on power play too. But if Teravainen does get power play one time, I really like that Carolina 1 line more, and it makes it a bit easier to Josh stack. You could leave Stahl off, and you can do something like Carolina 1 with Trocheck, Netchus, or Netchus, Niederreiter, and Dougie, something like that. But I think this is a Carolina game, especially with their ownership lower than it was the other night. I think you can go back Carolina 1, Carolina 2, Carolina power play 1, Josh stack even. Who knows who's starting for the Blackhawks? I'm not sure it matters. they've just been horrendous defensively after they had that good stretch in the middle of the season. It just, they've fallen off a cliff. So I think, this is a great spot to get over the field on Carolina. On the Blackhawks side, who knows what they're going to do with their lines. I see Adam Gaudette's onto the top power play now. So I think, if the safe bet, obviously for the Hawks, is if you want to play them, play Kane. You could play him with DeBrincat. If you want to include Adam Gaudette, do like a Gaudette Kane 2-man for the power play, that's fine. But really, this is a Carolina game for me, and minimal options on the Hawk side.
Yeah, this is all about Carolina for me as well. The point I want to bring up, you said about Teravainen being on the power play. I just want to point out that was a 5-on-3 when he jumped on the power play. Sometimes teams change up their units when it's a 5-on-3. Sometimes you'll see 5 forwards or something like that. So he might be there. I just don't, we just don't know for sure is how I would approach that. On my Power Plays article this morning, I talked about how there should probably be a lot of Carolina ownership tonight, and there's not a lot of Carolina ownership tonight. None of their lines are in the top 5 by ownership, and on a 6-game slate, that's pretty important. We don't have any line coming in above 15%. Carolina 2 slightly below 10%. I like Carolina here a lot tonight if those ownership rates are going to stay anywhere constant. This is a team leading a division that has the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers in it. This is and the Dallas Stars. This is a very good hockey team. They're completely healthy on top of that. They have all the players in the lineup that they'd want back in the lineup. I wrote up Carolina 2 because I was worried about ownership. Carolina power play 2, actually, Natchez, Niederreiter, Pesce, because I was worried about ownership. But it doesn't seem like there's going to be much ownership concern. So if you want to play Carolina 1, play Carolina 1. If you want to play Carolina 2, play Carolina 2. If you want to play Carolina power play stack, do that as well. Chicago's at the bottom of the league in almost every single defensive metric over the last month. So there's really nothing bad to say about Carolina. I think I Josh stacked them on Tuesday night. I might, and it went poorly because I went first line, third line, and it was first line, second line that went off. I might Josh stack them again here tonight. Because there's going to be ownership on Edmonton. There's going to be ownership on Toronto. There's going to be ownership on Pittsburgh and Boston. There's going to be some ownership here, but I can't imagine a Josh stack is going to be super popular. For those who don't know, we're talking about 5 skaters plus a defenseman, or 6, whatever, over on DraftKings, because you can stack up to 6 players. So that's what I'm talking about. That's what I like for Carolina here. Nothing for me from Chicago besides one-offs. I think Kubalik is a popular one-off for me here tonight. And the reason for that is Carolina 3 hasn't been very good. Fast, Stahl, and Fogle, they just haven't been very good together. And they got matched up almost all game long against Kubalik in their last game. So I like Kubalik. I think he has a chance to score here tonight. Don't mind him as a one-off for 5,200, but that's it for me. Defenseman included for Chicago. What do you like for blue liners here?
I mean, Dougie's up to 7,000 off a bad game. His price went up, but I think you definitely can include him. Brady Shea, Brett Pesce, perfectly fine. Slavin's getting a little bit pricey with no power play time, but he's a decent one-off. On the on the Hawk side, nothing really stands out to me. If you want to play Duncan Keith for 3,900, if you want to pair him with Kane, that's fine, but I don't think I'd one off him. I see a couple questions in the chat. What about Stahl Fogle? Yeah, I mean, listen, we talk about all the time in these high total games. If you want to get low ownership, you go to the seconds and the third lines. I think Stahl Fogle Fast is fine as a filler stack. You get that power play 1 if Stahl's still there. They're cheap. Let's get in the Matthews, the McDavids. I prefer that second line, especially if that ownership's going to be lower than it should be. So I don't have a problem with the third line, but I prefer the top 2. And I say, someone just asked, what's the Josh stack? It's just 6 skaters, any combination. You can do 2 full lines. You could do a power play stack plus another guy. As long as there's 6 guys and possibly the goalie, this is basically Josh stack.
Yep, I like it. In goal, are we playing I think it's going to be Lankinen starting, is it not? Haven't seen any confirmations yet. Colin Delia, sorry. No, it's Delia starting. 6,900 Delia. What do you think?
I mean, for that price, I think, you can consider it. I know he gave up 5 or 6 goals last game, but you got Blackwood at 7,200, you got Hauser at 7,000, you got Delia at 69. I think push comes to shove, I'd rather play Blackwood over those other two.
All right, fair enough. We're going to move it along here. We love celebrating subscriber success here at Awesemo.com. So if you bank some bigger contests, send your screenshot to our Awesemo Hoff Twitter account. That's Awesemo HOF, or to any of our Awesemo social accounts, or just send one to me or Jake or Josh or Terry or whomever, showing your bank with the Awesemo or bots. Or I keep forgetting all the NHL people. Like, we have more NHL people than I realize. Like, this season needs to end. We will be sure to shout you out. And if it's in top 3 in a contest with over 5,000 entries, you can win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Hit Awesemo.com/announcements/avatar for full details. All right. Couple more games to go. 10 minutes to do it. Lots of time for these two particular games. The Montreal Canadiens have a 2.3 implied goal total. They're going into Toronto. The Leafs have a 3.4 implied goal total. Joe Thornton back on the top line for Toronto. Looks like Galchenyuk going to stay on the second line for the Leafs. Cole Caulfield is on the quote-unquote top line for the Habs, depending what you think of the Suzuki Toffoli line. That is interesting to me. So we have Anderson, Danault, Caulfield for the Habs, with Toffoli, Suzuki, Armia being their second line. I think there's something to like on both sides. What do you like here?
Yeah, the thing is, you think the Matthews line is going to get the Suzuki line, or are you going to think they're going to throw him out against Danault?
I think Matthews is going to go up against Danault. I really do.
Yeah. So then
But here's one thing I will say. I don't think line matching in this game, at least in the top 6, really matters that much. I think they're both pretty tough matchups.
Yeah. But, with Thornton up there, with Matthews and Marner, their defensive numbers are way better than any other iteration of Matthews and Marner. They don't play it as high pace as if like a Hyman was there, or I don't know what their pace was with Foligno. It's probably, sludge, but Thornton up there, is their best defensive iteration up there. And if they're going to get the no line, I kind of like this, Toffoli, Suzuki, Armia line. Yeah, going against Tavares, Nylander, Galchenyuk isn't a walk in the park, but it's, better than going up against Matthews, Marner, and Thornton. They're fully correlated on the power play, not that it matters. Canadians haven't scored a power play goal since the 80s. But Toffoli has been great all season. Suzuki's had his up and downs, but, Joe Armia has his up and downs as well. But they're not overly expensive. They're in the 13s. The full stack lets you get in the Edmontons, the Pittsburghs, the Carolinas, this and that. So I think there's definitely some merit. Like, their ownership's going to be low. They got a 2.3 total. They're on the road. The other thing that concerns me with the Canadians, this is their 9th game in 14 days. So we talk about 5 games in 8 days. This is basically double that. So it is a bit concerning. So they could, melt away. But like, there's only so many options on the road unless you're like trying to jam favorites in. So I think you can go to some Montreal too. I don't mind Caulfield and Anderson, the little boy goals, as you call it, or the little guy. Boy. Yeah. But really, like, I think I would concentrate. I wouldn't go overboard on the Canadians tonight for sure. I think I'd concentrate on the Suzuki line. On the Toronto side, we're going to have the Matthews line. He's going to score. He's going to be owned. He's with Marner, 8,200. That's 17-2 for the two of them. But Joe Thornton has been priced. As much as I hate Joe Thornton, I think if you're going to do it, you include Joe Thornton. Edmund Price, if he gets you an assist, a shot on goal, and a block shot, you take it and you run to the bank, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So I think you go full Toronto one here, unless you want to, power play stack, because the Canadians penalty kill isn't anything to write home about. You can go Matthews, Marner, Nylander, something like that. You can go double center to get a bit unique. I do like stacking that second line as well. I think there's options with the Leafs tonight. You can go full Leafs 1, full Leafs 2, power play stack, mix and match, this and that.
Yeah. I like the point you made about Thornton because he does drag down their pace quite a bit. Like with or without Thornton, the top line controls roughly the same expected goal share. But with Thornton, it's 3.1 goals for per 60. And without Thornton, it's 4.2. Like they increased their goal scoring by a third without him on the line. I find that pretty significant. And it would be one of those things that would be enough to keep me off the Matthews and Marner line where there are so many expensive options here tonight. But their ownership is relatively in check. We have them at between 13 and 14%. Like that feels pretty fine for me. Like if like you said, 2,500 Joe Thornton, I don't really want to play him. But if he's going to come in, maybe around 10% or even lower, like I'm fine with that. And if you are worried about ownership, throw on somebody like Tavares or whatever for additional power play exposure. I'm with you on Montreal. I think it's too many games against too good of a team. I'm just out on the Habs. If anything, it would be the Suzuki Toffoli Armia line for me. I agree with you on that. But I'm not playing Montreal here tonight at all, top to bottom. Because if Montreal might have to start Jake Allen, if I'm not mistaken, and it would be back-to-back nights in 3 and 4 for him. If he doesn't play, you're looking at somebody like Caden Primo, like an AHLer. So no, out on the Habs, in on Toronto. Toronto won. The only way I would use them is if I full stack them. I'm not leaving Joe Thornton off. I would leave him on. Rasmus Sandin, power play 1 for the Leafs. He's coming in at 3K. On the blue line, I do like Jeff Petrie from the Montreal side. He's at 5,500, very reasonable, probably going to play, close to 23, 24 minutes at least. Don't mind Petrie and Sandin for me. What do you have?
Yeah, that's really about it. I mean, if you need a punt, like I guess Kulak is fine at min price, but I don't know. Like I'm probably just going to be off the Habs defenseman. It's always an adventure rostering a Habs defenseman. On the Leaf side, Sandin makes some sense. Hull, even Brody at 2,800 if you need a punt, but and now if Morgan Riley's off the top power play, unless he's min price, I don't want to play him.
Yeah, I agree. One guy I'll throw out is Joel Edmondson. He's probably going to play over 20 minutes. His price is way down to 2,700. Very much a threat for the shot block bonus. I'm not playing either goalie here. Are you?
The thing I worry about.
I shouldn't have said that so quick because Campbell. Yeah.
The shot volume. I just worry that there's shutout potential, but I don't know if the shot volume is going to be there. The Habs have got to be tired.
And their shot volume is cratered since the Brendan Gallagher injury as well. So, yeah. All right. Maybe we're not just auto-locking Campbell. TBD. All right. A couple minutes to get through this last game. I imagine we won't even need a couple minutes for it. We have the Vancouver Canucks going into Edmonton. The Canucks have a 2.3 implied goal total. The Oilers are at 3.8. I guess the Besser-Miller Hoglander line isn't a bad secondary stack or whatever to use here. They have been good since coming back. 52% expected goals share, 3.8 expected goals for. They're only a little over 14K on DraftKings, so you can fit in, like a pit 1 or something with them. But for me, this is all about the Edmonton top line.
Yeah, I agree with you on the Vancouver side, and that second line ownership is 9% again. That's just I don't know why. I've been befuddled by the Vancouver ownership all season, but I agree with you on the top line. I think you can use them as a filler. So getting to the Edmonton top line, I love them tonight. And the thing is Jesse Puljujarvi is always way lower owned than McDavid. And you see his price is up to 5,500. People are just going to leave him off. I think you got to put him on. We talk about this every time. Play Jesse Puljujarvi. He's going to come in a quarter of the ownership of McDavid and Draisaitl. He's not some bum. Go look up his wowies with and without McDavid. It's just incredible how much he brings up McDavid. Look at McDavid's numbers without Puljujarvi and with him. It's just it's a big difference. So Edmonton top line is one of my favorite spots of the night. It's like in MLB DFS when you get a bad pitcher, you always stack against. Like, I'm going to stack any team against the Vancouver Canucks for the rest of the season. It's just going to happen. So yeah, I think Edmonton top line. You want to include Nugent Hopkins for some more power play. Your boy Chiasson, I think is always viable. But for me, this is just Edmonton 1, maybe a little Edmonton power play stack too.
Yeah, Edmonton power play is what I wrote up in my power plays article this morning because I like Chiasson. I always like Chiasson at his price. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Josh, I'm going to ask you for your hat trick pick here in a couple seconds. My hat trick pick for tonight's slate. I'm going to go a little bit off the board here, and I'm going to go Yegor Sharangovich. What do you got?
I was pumped to say Anders Bjork, but I'm going to go tad chalky, and I'm going to say Leon Draisaitl.
All right, fair enough. So one off the board, one on the board. Draisaitl, Sharangovich, your hat trick picks. All right, that will do it for us today and for the regular season. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with us all year. Really enjoyed our chats, enjoyed the YouTube chat. You guys were always good to us. Thank you so much. Thank you to our producer, Tyler, for putting up with us. He's been awesome. Be on the other side of the glass for us. So that'll do it for the regular season. Jake will be by tomorrow. You'll probably see us sometime whenever the playoffs start. Who knows when that's going to be. But for Tyler, for Josh, for myself, thank you so much for a great regular season. And let's finish this out strong.
Thank you, guys.